Hello again. We are going to focus today, continuing our geometry unit of polygons. We're going to look at quadrilaterals and parallelograms and just kind of as a whole first, and then tomorrow we're really going to break down quadrilaterals. So quadrilaterals is a very large group of shapes. So it is broken down many different times into many things you are already familiar with. But when breaking them down, we have to understand the biggest group first before we can really break those other shapes down. So we're going to start with quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are shapes, polygons, closed shapes that have 4 sides and 4 angles. So as you know, there are many shapes that have 4 sides and 4 angles. You can name some of those very quickly. Square, rectangle, trapezoid, all of those, 4 sides, 4 angles. Check. It's quadrilateral. It's that simple for quadrilaterals. Then we can break it down into a parallelogram, which is also a very large group. It is inside the quadrilateral bracket though. So if it's a parallelogram, it's going to be falling under a quadrilateral. Parallelograms have opposite sides that are parallel. So, for example, a square has 2 pairs of parallel sides because this side and these opposite sides are parallel and these opposite sides. Same thing with a rectangle. Okay? Those are going to fall under the quadrilateral bracket. Now, not all quadrilaterals are parallelograms. Okay? But all parallelograms are quadrilaterals, if that makes sense, because you're going to get deeper and deeper into organizing these shapes. So let me show you some examples to help. We're going to just mess around with these shapes here. So this is a trapezoid. A trapezoid has 1 set of parallel sides. These sides are not parallel, so it is just a quadrilateral. It's not a parallelogram. Okay? Now a square has 4 sides, has 4 angles, but has the 2 parallel sides. It is a quadrilateral and a parallelogram. It is also a square, as we know. If we're looking at these 5 shapes that I have here, you can start to compare and see which ones have matching properties. We're back to that property idea. That's how we name our shapes. So the square has 4 sides, 4 angles. It happens to also have all 4 right angles. And if you look, there's another shape that also has 4 sides and 4 angles, and all 4 are right angles. And that's the rectangle. Okay, so a lot of our shapes, even though they might start to fall into different categories or have different names, they have similarities. Once we're in that quadrilateral bracket, there's lots of similarities within our shapes. And that's what your assignment's going to be over today. You're going to look at a quadrilateral shape and you're going to be able to describe all the properties that are the same, but the properties that are different as well. What's keeping them from being the exact same? One thing I do want to remind you of before you move on, which you've dealt with shapes for a very long time being 5th graders, but I do want to remind us that if you turn a shape, so if I take this trapezoid and I turn it 90 degrees the other way, it is still a trapezoid. It did not change the shape because of the direction that I turned it. Okay? So if I'm looking at the properties, it still has 4 sides and 4 angles and only 1 set of parallel sides. I just turned it the other way. So if I'm comparing this to this one, if I'm comparing these 2 shapes here, they are still the exact same shape. Okay, the only difference I would be able to explain in my paragraph would be that one is turned on its side. Okay, now if I'm comparing the trapezoid to the square, there are many differences. The square has all right angles, where the trapezoid does not. But there's also many similarities. There's 4 right angles, there's 4 angles, 4 sides, 4 angles, 4 sides. All of these sides are the same size. These do not have all the same size. So if you're starting to understand that even though these fall into the quadrilateral together, they have different properties. Okay, so your task today will be to look at 2. On the next page, you will look at 2 shapes and you will describe all the similarities and all of the differences within that shape.